Hello, everybody. Sandrine here from Girls Go Fly. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so very excited to be with Isis Olga, and I hope I said that correctly. Isis is joining us. I'm not sure if it's Isis or Isis, but I think it's Isis. And she's joining us directly from Brazil. So we're really, really happy to have you from Brazil all the way. And I'm in Canada. So yeah, there's quite a few hours of flight distancing us right now. But just bear with us because there might be a bit of a delay in between when I ask questions and when Isis answers. But that's just, technology being so far away. It's already pretty incredible that we can even be live together being at such a distance. So without further ado, welcome, Isis.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. And it's a privilege and an honor for me to be here with you today, Sandrine. And thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're quite welcome. So, of course, I've got a ton of questions for you, but I'm going to try not to make this a 2-hour live. So let's get right to it. So, tell us a little bit about us, about you, about where your whole history. And my first question is, okay, so you're from Brazil. Where exactly in Brazil are you from?
I'm from Poços de Caldas, which is a very small city in the mountains of the Atlantic forest. So I'm only 5 hours away from São Paulo, and the nearest airport is Campinas. We actually have a direct flight from Fort Lauderdale, where I live now, to Campinas. And from Campinas is only a 2-hour drive for me to come to Poços.
Wow, cool. So, so what is it like in Brazil for a girl like you who, well, okay, let me ask another question first. When did you have the dream or start thinking, it'd be really, really fun to fly an airplane?
I'm a flight attendant, and I started flying in 2018 as a flight attendant. And on New Year's Eve, I was flying from JFK to São Paulo, and that was the first time that I looked around. I was like, oh my God, maybe I can be doing this, because I don't know if it was a different culture of like not having a lot of women flying, or just not seeing myself there, because I thought I would had to had started earlier, and I was already 25 years old. So I was flying from JFK to Sao Paulo, and the pilots needed a bathroom break. And when I walked in the cockpit, the first officer offered me to take the captain seat. And I actually saw the sun rising into the Amazon, because that's where we were flying. And the moon was still shining. And I remember just like looking around, and I was like, I can only see this in the cockpit. And that moment, that's when I started dreaming about becoming a pilot.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I guess when you have a view like that, you go, I wish my office view was always that one, right? Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
So in your culture, you talked about culture a little briefly. I want to touch on that a little bit. What is it like in Brazil? How many, I don't know at all the reality of Brazil, female, male pilots, etc. So what is it like?
Recently, we had basically a boom of female pilots in the last, I would say, 5 years. It's still like the U.S. We only have 5 to 6% of female aviators here, but it definitely have been increasing. So comparing from 2008 to 2018, we actually had almost 30% of people of female aviators, both private pilot certificate and commercial pilots. So not only in the airline industry, but also people that decided to start flying. So it's getting better.
Wow, that's a heck of an increase. That's pretty cool. Um, Great to know. So when you finally decided to take your flying lessons, how many girls were with you at the airport that you chose?
None. It was only me. At my flight school, we actually now have two other girls, but when I started, it was only me.
Yeah, I hear you. You know what? That's what I was telling you about my story too. Is I got my license, my glider license in 2013, and then my powered license in 2018. And throughout all that time, I was always either the only girl or there was one other girl. But yeah, always ourselves. But we're used to being one of the boys, right? That's what happens. So, so now you're a flight attendant. you have your private pilot license. What other licenses are you working on? Where are you at? What's the next step?
I'm about to take my knowledge test for instrument rating, and hopefully the next week or two, I'll be getting that done and starting my training.
Okay, so the next license is commercial, or have you gotten that already? What's
No, I have to work on my instrument rating. So I'm only a private pilot. I'm working on my instrument rating. And after that, I definitely want to become a commercial pilot and a flight instructor.
Oh, so you're going to the flight instructor route. All right. So what's your overall dream? Like let's say 2, 3, 5 years out. What's your focus?
Well, I definitely want to go back to the airlines as a pilot, but I would love to be an instructor because where I am right now, we don't have any female instructors. So I would love to be an instructor and motivate other girls and encourage and learn a lot because, I believe that's the best way of learning by teaching and seeing other people's mistakes and learning from your own mistakes and other people. So after I become an instructor and hopefully build some hours, I would love to honestly go anywhere life takes me. I see myself sometimes getting a low time jobs. I see myself going to the regionals, and eventually I would like to go back.
All of that success and more. Um, who was the person you would say up until now who's been your biggest mentor, your the person that's really helped you through all of this? Because I'd like you to tell everybody a little bit about your story, about how many pushbacks, how many struggles, how many times it's been really not easy. Because I don't think you've had this, everybody looks at us when we become pilots and they go, oh my God, you became a pilot. That's so cool. And then you're like, yeah. And you don't want to make it sound like, oh my God, it was hell, because it wasn't. But it's never like, it's not the easiest thing to do, right? It's not the thing where you're like, oh yeah, I'll just go off and study for a few hours and pass a test and off I go, right? It's not that. So why don't you share your struggles? Because I want you to share your struggles because you overcame them all. And that's the thing that's really powerful, I think.
So my first and biggest struggle was money, right? I'm a flight attendant. I just started working as a flight attendant. So finding, I'm not a US citizen, so I couldn't get a loan. I don't have a co-signer, so that was a big obstacle for me. So I decided, okay, I don't have the money right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to work as much as I can, and I'm going to save as much money as I can to pay for my private pilot certificate. And then I was studying for the knowledge test by myself. So I purchased the ground school, and so for about a year in 2019, that's what I did. I was studying by myself. In November, I passed the knowledge test, and I had a few hours of flight training, but it wasn't consistent. And I also didn't have time because I live in Fort Lauderdale and I was commuting to Atlanta. So commuting takes a lot of your time, right? Sometimes my trip is tomorrow, I have to commute today, or I come back after my trip. So I was like, okay, first obstacle is money. I was able to work as much as I could, save money. Second obstacle now was time, right? I didn't find time to start flight training. So what I decided to do, I decided to just leave everything behind for Lauderdale and move to Atlanta where I was based. I was like, being based there, I can manage to get trips that report in the afternoon, so I can fly in the morning and I can try to just do turns or 2-day trips, and it will be in my favorite for flight training. So in January of 2020, I moved to Atlanta. And of course, it wasn't a great year for many of us. And as soon as I moved to Atlanta, the weather was very bad. So I couldn't fly. And I was just sitting at home waiting for the weather to get better to start flying. And after that, that's when COVID started. And the flight school that I was enrolled at, filed for bankruptcy. But the problem is that I had paid in advance because, again, I had saved the money in 2019. And then as soon as I got to Atlanta, I was like, take my money. I just want to become a pilot. Now I have the time and I have the money, and I'm just going to do this. And I was extremely motivated. That was my dream for a year, just like waiting for it. And when the school filed for I had to wait for a month because of the weather. And when the school filed for bankruptcy, that's when I was like, oh my God. Now I was in a city that I couldn't afford any other flight schools. I was in the south of the city, and all the other airports were in the north. And since I'm a flight attendant and all the travel bans, the travel restrictions and everything, I was on leave for 5 months. And I was like, okay, now I have all the time of the world, but I don't have a flight school anymore. With that and other things, I decided to go back to Florida. So I returned to Florida in April, and in May, things worked out again, and I started flight training. And after that, in June, I soloed, and in August, I became a private pilot. So it was, for me, it was always one after the other. You know, first it was money, and I was like, okay, I have to find a way. And then it was time. Okay, I'll find a way. Okay, now the school filed for bankruptcy, and I was like, should I just sit down and cry and just be sad? Of course I did, but what can I do now? And you ask about mentor. I'm very lucky to say that my boyfriend has been the biggest supporter. He's a pilot and he's my mentor, but my biggest mentor. And he was the one just saying it's not going to be easy, but just keep pushing, keep fighting. And even when I was in flight training, I had, some obstacles during flight training. And I was like, am I going to overcome this? And problems with instructors and just like myself, uh, silly fears, and just like feeling like I was stuck in flight training, and having him there telling me, no, it's okay. We all go through this. You're not alone. Keep pushing, keep fighting. I feel really, really lucky. And that's why organizations like Girls Go Fly, they're very important, because many times we feel like we're alone. We're the only ones going through that. And it just feels like the world is against us, and it's not. We all have our obstacles, and all we have to do is just like keep believing, keep fighting, keep pushing through, and just believing your dreams and believe. For me, it was always like, I want to solo. So I'm not going to quit until I solo. And then it was, of course, when I solo, I was like, this is it. I want to keep going. And after I became a private pilot, because of the travel restrictions still, I was going back to work, and I decided to take a break. Once again, save up money as much as I could to do my instrument rating. And I also needed to build some flight time because I'm doing part 61. So I had a little bit of fun flying around Florida. That was really cool. And just in the beginning of January this year again, I started my ground school. I finished, and I'm ready to take my knowledge test and do my instrument rating.
Way to go. Way to go. Like I bow to you,
Thank you.
because really, like, it's no, but everything you just mentioned, I mean, how many people would have given up, after, like, well, I can't move to Atlanta. I'm in Florida, and da, 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 and that's not going to work. Oh, well, never mind. I'll just stay a flight attendant, right? How many people would have done that? Or else, oh my God, my flight school just went bankrupt. They took all my money, and now what? Oh, well, I guess it's not meant to be, right? How many people would say, oh, I guess it's not meant to be? Whereas instead of that, you said, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. And I am not going to give up until it's done, right? And so that's why I wanted to interview you. That's why I wanted to bring you here, because I thought, holy cow, like, women, listen to this. Men too, everybody listen to this. Like, this is, when you have a dream, when you have a goal, when you have, and I hate the word goal, actually, because I learned recently that the best word would be when you have a promise to yourself, right? A promise to ourselves is like 1,000 times more powerful than a goal or an objective. Because a goal, you can say, oh, well, I just didn't reach my goal. I didn't hit my goal. I can do it another time, right? Whereas a promise to yourself, man, that's profound, right? We feel like idiots if we don't hold our
Yeah.
own promise. And so it's so powerful, because that's what a dream is. A dream is a promise that you hope one day you'll make true. And then you say, wait a minute, I can make it happen, right? I have what it takes. We can do whatever we want. And even during a pandemic, even during a school going bankrupt, even during you losing, like, getting temporary laid off, all of that, you've made it happen. So imagine when everything's going well, what you can do. Right? I mean, that's like,
I know.
wow.
I can't wait for things to go well, for everything to
Yeah,
be normal.
exactly. Yeah, but at the same time, it makes me wonder, right? Would you push so hard if everything was going well? Hmm. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like sometimes it's the adversity, right? It's the adversity that makes us
Yes.
want to just like, wham, I'm going to do it, even though it's so hard. Whereas when it's easy, it's like, well, there's almost no challenge, right? Although, don't get, we both know that learning to fly and getting our licenses is challenging enough. We
It
don't
is,
need more
yes.
challenges. All
Absolutely.
right.
I remember my mom saying, "Oh no, but nothing that comes easy is worth it." So, and I remember on the phone with her, and I'm like, "But this is too much. What should I do?" And she was like, "Well, what do you want to do? What is your dream? You always have a choice. What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I can't quit. I can't." And like you said about the promises, I always dreamed about my solo. And even when I was like, okay, the school just closed, I was still in Atlanta. And before moving to Fort Lauderdale, I was like, I'm just going to chase my solo, you know? Because at a certain point, I was like, maybe I cannot even do this because I didn't know if I was going to have, again, money and time and the opportunities. But I couldn't stop. And I was already, with the feeling of, the airplane, and I already knew everything that I felt like I needed to know in a sense of like, I knew that I wanted that, and all the obstacles that kept happening, it was just like, I'm going. Of course, when I say this now, it's like, oh, you're so strong. But no, of course, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to go to Atlanta and after 2 months go back to Fort Lauderdale feeling like life is upside down, my job, my dream, but I had a dream and I just wanted to do that. And I didn't even know if I was going to become a CFI or if I was going to get a flying job. I didn't care. I just wanted to fly an airplane and discover how that feeling was, understand what many other girls, many other people talk about, that freedom, that passion. I just wanted to find that out, figure it out what it was. And of course, after that, I couldn't stop. So obstacles are always going to happen, and anything that we do in life, it's normal. But I like the word promise. If you have a promise to yourself, it's different. You find inside yourself strength that you never thought you had, and you're just able to keep fighting and pursuing what you think it's right. So
Well, there you go. So, if you had one more thing to say to the girls who are having those dreams, who are trying to make that promise to themselves, who think, oh my God, I don't have what it takes. Oh my God, it's going to be so difficult. Oh my God, I can't be a pilot. I'm too short. I'm too this. I'm too fat. I'm too whatever, or I'm not enough. What would you say to them? What would you say to the girl who has no money, has no support, has nobody in aviation in her family, maybe lives like an hour away from an airport or two, doesn't know anything about the industry? What would you say? And is looking at that going, wait a minute, all the airlines are just about to go bankrupt and you want me to go into aviation. What would you say to them to get them to say, you know what, if this is your dream, then I'll let you finish that sentence.
well, if this is your dream, you should never stop. Obstacles are going to happen no matter what. We're going through a pandemic. A lot of people are losing their job. A lot of people are like even losing their dreams. But if this is your dream, you should never stop. You will find a way. I promise you. And the other thing is, don't ever compare yourself to anyone, because that was a problem with me in the beginning, because it took me a year just to get my knowledge test. We know that there's people that become a commercial pilot in a year, or they even become a certified flight instructor in a year. And the moment that I realized that was my fight, my struggle, my dream, everything just, all the worries, all the struggles, they just, they didn't go away, but they were just smaller, because my passion and my dream, my drive was bigger. Don't compare yourself to anyone. If you have a dream, just keep going. You will find a way. I had a big issue with money, and it took me a year to save enough to get my private pilot certificate. I never stopped studying. You know, I got a ground school, and I was like, I know I will have to know this for my knowledge test, to learn how to fly, to pass my check ride, and for life to be a pilot. And many times I will even be doing, instrument courses, like not just CFR into IMC, but just like, oh, let me see what I should do if, something happens, and I wasn't even flying it. So you will find a way. You just have to keep dreaming. And like you mentioned, oh, what if you're 2 hours away? You can find a way. Maybe I won't know what to tell you right now, like, oh, do this or do that. But keep trying, keep pushing, keep believing, keep dreaming. Don't ever let anyone stop you from saying, oh, but you're an immigrant, or you're a woman, or you're a mom. There's a lot of people that, everybody has your own story and your own struggles. Don't ever let anyone stop you from that. And second, you don't put yourself down. Don't compare yourself. Don't ask too much from yourself. Just do your best. Know that you're doing yourself. You know that you're doing your best, and things will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some great, great, great advice. Thank you so much. And I wanted to add to that that there are some incredibly amazing associations out there. There's some incredibly amazing groups on Facebook for women. I know that you and I are members of several of them. I'm just going to name them quickly. There's Ladies in Flight Training Lift. There's the 99s, of course, the Association of Women Pilots. There's fast female aviators sticking together. I mean, you have to know somebody to get onto these groups, but once you get into aviation and you talk to another girl or you start doing research online, you'll find them. I like to talk about these organizations because they're really amazing. There's Women in Aviation International, and you know what? There's scholarships. There's almost $1 million worth of scholarships, every dollars US, that is, every year that are available. Most of them are for women, right? So, I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of opportunity. There's the EAA that I forget to talk about all the time, but I love them very much. The Experimental Aircraft Association, who has the Young Eagles program, that I'm a Young Eagles pilot, by the way, and you can get scholarships out of the EAA. There are flying clubs at airports that will give you rent you a little airplane for super cheap, just so you can build hours. I mean, there are, you know how they say there's so many paths lead to Rome? Well, so many paths lead to flying. I mean, there are just a lot of different paths. And so, I mean, we're actually in a good era, I think, I'm almost certain that we're in a good era right now for learning to fly, for becoming pilots, for aiming for those goals, because in 3 years, when all of this is behind us, there are so many companies that are going to be looking for pilots, they won't know where to look, because we are going to have a huge, huge need for pilots of all types, not just airline pilots, right? Instructors, medevac pilots, so medical evacuations, charter pilots, corporate pilots. I mean, you name it, firefighter pilots, just like all types of pilots. And there's a lot of great jobs out there. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Isis, for your presence. Thank you for who you are.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for battling through all of this and never giving up. I can't wait to hear about the future of your next licenses. Please keep in touch with Girls Go Fly. Let us know what you're doing next. And as you know, I want to fly my airplane to every airport in Canada and take up girls, but I'm not excluding South America. I'm not excluding Brazil. I have to take it one step at a time, right? And I'd like to make a difference for as many girls around the world. I mean, that's the idea. So take care and keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Since we started talking, it was amazing. It was amazing to learn a little bit more about yourself and your organization. Thank you for inspiring us and for keep fighting for a better world for all of us. And thank you everyone for listening to me and learning about my story as well. And have a great day. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.